What's up, guys? It's your boy Wings of Redemption. And I don't know if you know me, but I love conspiracy theories. And I'm also very fond of Egypt. Egypt impresses me in so many ways. There's the alien prophecies. There's the actual ideal of, how the hell did Giza get built? There's the quarries. There's the power generators. There's the hydraulic generators. There's the hydrogen generators. We're going to go ahead and talk about some of these. So I brought one of my buddies in. You might all know him as Mr. Chaos Math. He does a lot of music on my channel. You can check him out. Why don't you go and say hi, dude?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? What's up, Wings? Yeah, I figured I'd come on and talk about some pyramids with you, some of that crazy shit. Because yeah, I mean the Great Pyramid is one of my favorite things to study in ancient civilization, and there's just so much about it that really nobody can really say for sure. It's just tons of conspiracy theories, even scientists have been studying this thing for hundreds of years, still really can't tell you. So it's pretty cool.
You know what always bothers me about the pyramids?
What's
How
that?
seamless they are. Like, they've been beaten up for, thousands of years by the weather, obviously. But the fact is, if you look at the base rock, it's almost like you couldn't slip a piece of paper in between them. They're just cut so perfectly. And this is the Bronze Age, right? It was in the Bronze Age?
It was like 2500 BC. I'm not sure.
What was the hardest metal they had there? It was a really soft metal.
They hadn't created iron yet, not even close.
Not even close. So they had to be the Bronze Age, and like bronze, if you chip a little bronze pickaxe on some granite or limestone, which is I think the Pyramid of Giza is made out of limestone, it's not going to last too long. So you got to make tons of these things, and it's almost like playing Minecraft or some shit.
Seriously, yeah. I've built a fucking pyramid in Minecraft, and it takes long in that. But yeah, I mean this thing is so big too. Like that's what's crazy about Giza. Right? I mean, the fact that it was built okay, let me tell you this. Here's what I think is the craziest thing about Giza, right? It was built in the fourth dynasty, which is, like we said, way the fuck back, 2500 BC. Now, this wasn't even close to when the Egyptian Empire was at its peak. That happened like 1300 years after they finished the Great Pyramid of Giza. So you would have figured that like when they were at the height of their power, right, they had, huge territory. They could have brought materials in from all over their empire, and they didn't. The fact is they did this thing way earlier in their history with mathematics that nobody can explain how they got. And like you're saying, the thing is so precise. I mean, this thing is like, it's within like 1% of perfect accuracy still today. Right? I mean, we're in what? We're 2,000 years past the BCE era. So we're like, this thing's like 45.
My fucking house I live in isn't 100% on flat ground, and it took them forever to even get it close.
Right. So think of how long this thing's been sitting there for over 4,000 years, and it's the Earth is settled. If there's a big tsunami or Earth. Yeah, right. All that shit changes the Earth, right? This thing is still accurate to within 1%. It's just, it doesn't make sense. And like you're saying, like this thing was so perfect. I mean, when you look at pictures of it now, it looks like shit. All the casing stones have been pulled off. I mean, it used to have a completely smooth surface. I mean, this thing must have looked.
It used to have a granite casing, if I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was like polished granite casing stones that covered the entire thing. So, I mean, it must have looked.
It must have looked like fucking $1 million. Like you see nice black granite sitting out there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was the tallest human structure up until, I don't know, I think it's something like the Lincoln. Something in England.
I know we didn't want to go to the aliens thing, but I have to ask this question. How did the Egyptians build these pyramids, obviously, but at the same time, the Mayans across the world, which they had no connectivity with each other at all. They were a fucking ocean away from each other. They're building pyramids too, and their pyramids, like Machu Picchu, you have the pyramids where they found the actual Mayan calendar and stuff. Those are almost perfect as well. Like the Pyramid of Light in the Mayans, they has 365 steps, and each time the sun goes down, the shadow of that step goes down one day. How the fuck you do that shit?
It kind of makes you wonder. I mean, again, we're talking, this thing was built so long ago.
Are we underestimating?
Yeah,
I mean, I really think the Mayans, like, did they really they might have had a complex mathematics system, but
no. Well, here's how I refute that, and this gets back to what I was saying about when it was built in the timeline of the Egyptian Empire. If the Egyptians had this kind of math down that early, and they weren't even at the top of their power. The top of the Egyptian dynasty was like Tutankhamun, right? King Tut, all that shit. It was called the New Kingdom. It was like 1,500 years after they finished the Great Pyramid. Don't you think that one of these pharaohs, who was way richer, had way more advanced society, would have built something as good or better? I would think so.
Well, the Sphinx was built before them, wasn't it? And I consider the Sphinx a much greater achievement than the Great Pyramid of Giza.
You do? Why?
Because it's one solid piece of stone.
Well, yeah, but they just had to carve the fuck out of it.
They had to carve the fuck out of it, but like, how do you get 15,000 workers to carve a big ass lion with the pharaoh's head on it?
You whip the shit out of them.
You can't whip the shit out of them because think about it. All right, they're not the biggest dynasty in the world. You obviously have other things to worry your manpower with than just building a pyramid or building a sphinx. You got to worry about food. You got to worry about water. You got to worry about famine. You got to worry about disease. There's a lot of things on a pharaoh's mind. He's not just like eating grapes and getting fucking hot bitches. So you can't burn your manpower by beating them to death and making them build pyramids for 200 years and expect it to work.
I mean, those carvers would need to be,
you got to have a skilled carver to do that kind of stuff. And like if you had a person better, you wouldn't sit there beat him to death. You'd give him food and water to keep him working.
I think the Sphinx is pretty badass, but I think what distinguishes it from the Great Pyramid again is the math and just the pure logistics of it. I mean, how many stones they had to get, how they had to get them, where they quarried them from, how they carried them all, how they coordinated it all, and they ended up with this absolutely perfect structure. It's just, you really can't explain it. And then it leads you to believe, well, why did they build it? Are we really supposed to believe this was just to put some old ass crusty mummy in when they got done? I don't know.
Here's another question. Like you said, this was before they got into their mainstay power when they had all the gold and all the big armies and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Why didn't King Tut create this huge, massive one to outdo him?
That's exactly what I was just saying.
Did the egos not exist back then?
You think that if they could have just pulled a Great Pyramid out of their ass whenever they felt like it, then if you look at the pyramids that were created after, the old dynasties, they look like shit in comparison to this thing, and the mathematics don't match it. It's just not as accurate. It's nowhere near as tall, and again, they were more affluent than the Egypt that built the Great Pyramid at Giza, so it just doesn't really add up. It seems out of place. So, yeah, you connect it with the Mayans and some of that other shit, and you start to ask yourself, like, well, I don't know. I mean, maybe there's something going on with this thing.
Well, maybe we'll never know. This has been the conclude of part 1 of this. If you'd like us to continue this talk, please leave a rating. If this thing gets more than 4,000 ratings, we will do part 2 of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Check out Chaos Math in the description. He makes some kick-ass music. He does some really good videos, and he has probably one of the best Minecraft Let's Plays on YouTube. Peace.